It's pumpkin beer season. I went to the store, I bought every one. Today, we're gonna taste them and rate them.
And I've got a way to turn this into a full-flavored IPA.
And later, I'll introduce you to someone whose dream to create the perfect beer began in a 3-gallon pot in a small kitchen apartment.
I'm Glenn Macnow, he's Joe Sixpack, and this is What's Brewing. Hi, I'm Glenn Macnow. You might recognize me from being on WIP radio for the last 24 years. Used to host the old great sports debate. I've been part of Philadelphia media for 3 decades.
And I'm Joe Sixpack. I've been writing about beer in Philadelphia for more than 20 years and drinking it for a lot longer. And this is our pilot episode of What's Brewing.
Think about this. 30 years ago, there were fewer than 100 breweries in the United States. Today, there are more than 5,000, and the number keeps growing.
And now we're seeing the beginnings of craft distilling that are making small batches of vodka, whiskey, and more spirits. And here's a little of what's to come.
Every episode of What's Brewing, we're going to bring you the latest news in the beer and the craft beer industry and the distilling industry. So, Joe, let's start with this. This year, 2017, has been enormous for big takeovers of craft breweries. What's going on?
It's definitely the story of the year. Might be the story forever in craft beer, because I think that the industry has turned the corner from the days 20 years ago when it was a small mom and pop business where you had families that owned breweries turning out small batches to a global industry. And of course, that's mostly because of the takeover of some of those small breweries by the likes of Anheuser-Busch InBev, which is the world's largest brewery. They now own about a dozen of these small breweries: Goose Island, Elysian, 10 Barrel, Devil's Backbone. And what's going on is that they're buying those breweries to get both tap lines in bars and also to grab shelf space in grocery stores.
All right, let me back you up a second. So 25 years ago, what percentage of the market was actually craft brewers? What is defined as a craft brewer?
2%.
2%. Okay, and what is it now as we're in 2017?
About 12 to 15%.
Okay, and how did that happen?
Well, it happened because people want good beer. They want to drink something other than light beer. But it took a while for that to catch on. People used to be turned off by dark beer or so and so on. But now small breweries have found that they can reach an audience that is more willing to try something with a lot more flavor than light beer.
And people like local.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, absolutely. Local's
that's
huge. I mean, you're not a real town unless you have a brewery.
So the small brewery starts up, does well. I mean, what happened? Just like the phone call comes.
Yeah.
You're the guy who owns Goose Island. You're sitting there pouring one. It's like, well, excuse me, this is multinational corporation. Can we throw you $100 million?
Yeah, well,
and
more.
when do I get that call?
The famous one, the one everybody's talking about, the golden goose, I guess, is Ballast Point, which sold out for $1 billion.
Wait, they're not a craft beer anymore?
No, not anymore. They are owned by a large corporation, and that's what everybody's, not everybody. There's still a lot of breweries out there that want to maintain that small, down-home atmosphere.
Purity, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but here's my question. So if I drink Ballast Point, which I do, and I've always enjoyed it, which I have, am I now going against the whole craft beer purity? Am I sinning anymore?
Well, some people think you are, and there's a lot of people that are boycotting some of those big breweries, and as a result of that, you're seeing these small breweries, many of them are putting a small label on their beers, on their cans and bottles, that denote that they are independent breweries. And that helps the consumer know whether it's actually a real, true so-called craft beer.
What started in a college dorm room is now a thriving business in Westchester. Let's meet one of the founders of Levante, Tim Floros. So you have a thriving business here with Levante. Can you tell us how you got started and why?
Absolutely, yeah. So my brother-in-law and I, Eric Santostefano, started the brewery. We've been open a little over 2 years this past August. And how we got into the brewing industry was actually separately. We traveled to Italy and were inspired by all the small family-run wineries. And it was kind of the epitome of the local craft movement. And at that time, I didn't know personally about craft beer, but I came back to the US, sampled my first craft beer, was a Dogfish 60 Minute actually, and then I kind of fell in love with it. So I would read as much as I could about craft beer brewing. We started brewing in my college apartment, and then at that time decided we love business, we love beer, why not put a business plan together for a brewery? And at that point, kind of the rest is history.
So what did it look like brewing in college?
It was actually, it was funny because I think our first kit was like a $100 kit at the local homebrew store, and it consisted of like a pot on the stove and a couple buckets with various different kind of knickknacks that are used in the brewing industry or in home brewing. And essentially you were making soup, and then you would ferment that soup with yeast and bottle that, and a month or two later after brew day you have a beer. And then we just got more and more into it as we went. Recipes would get more and more in-depth and difficult, and just would improve every week we brewed. So
Your college friends must have loved you.
they did, yeah. At first the beer wasn't amazing. It was potable, I guess it would be. But yeah, and it just got better. You know, after a while we realized, you know, people really did like the beer. They were asking for it. You know, if we were to have a party, they'd say, "Well, where's your beer? Did you bring any?" So that kind of kept us going.
Are there any like Italian flavors or Italian bases to your brewing?
Yeah, actually, so we have an artisanal program here where we brew and age a lot of beers in oak casks or in barrels, and a lot of that comes from the wine industry, and kind of our inspiration from the old country or Italy. So we have Le Marche Quad, which is actually on tap now here in the tap room, and what that is a Belgian-style quad aged in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. So that's kind of I always like to say that the beer, liquor, and wine worlds all come together in barrel-aged beers because you're getting those flavors from the wine and the oak, and also the character from the beer in that.
So why the name Levante?
Actually, so knowing that we were inspired by Italy and the kind of wine culture there, we wanted an Italian term that meant something to us. And if you look, we have a mural in the tap room that it says "Elevate your craft," which is kind of our motto, and Levante means to elevate or to rise in Italian. And what we meant by that was we were always trying to get better at what we did, whether it was a new recipe, whether it was, you know, building a business and operating a brewery, or whether it was helping the community. We often say elevate your community because we like to be involved in a lot of nonprofit and charitable organizations that help out locally. So to us, it was kind of like a mantra, if you will, or something that meant more than just brewing beer. And Levante encompasses that all in one word.
And it seems to have worked for you. You guys have grown a lot in just 2 years.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the growth has been amazing. We started, I think it was January, February of 2015, and now here we are we have 2 locations, Summer Beer Garden in Chester Springs, and then we also, we service about 150 to 200 bars and restaurants in the area from here to Philadelphia and the surrounding area who purchase our beer and have it on tap there. So it's exciting. I mean, the local community has really supported us and showed us they like our product. Time flies. I mean, we love what we do so much that we feel like we're not at work, and it feels like yesterday we were in here serving beer in 5-ounce cups on a picnic table. So all the hard work that goes into it is really worth it.
That's our look at Levante here in Westchester. For What's Brewing, I'm Sierra Genst.
Okay, it wouldn't be a show about beer if we didn't get to do a taste test every week. Joe Sixpack. The thing that has become huger and huger over the last decade are pumpkin beers.
Yeah, it used to be fall beer meant Oktoberfest beer, that nice sort of malty lager, but in America that's not the case at all. These days it's pumpkin beer that is the most popular by far fall beer.
It's pumpkin everything.
Yeah.
I went to the beer store. I can't vouch for how good they are. This is what the rep told me, try these. you and I are going to do a little taste test, okay?
Good idea.
All right.
I'm going to judge them based on what I think a pumpkin beer should taste like, and that's pumpkin. Or
Okay.
that is pumpkin spices, which are cinnamon, nutmeg, and so on.
All right, so this is, we talked about Ballast Point, right? This is the Ballast Point effort this year. It is the Pumpkin Down Scotch Ale with pumpkin.
Yeah, so most pumpkin beers are typical just amber style beers
Right.
with pumpkin spice added to it. It's nice to see this, and this is another new one for me. A Scotch Ale, which is going to be dark, I presume, and not that dark,
Not as dark as you think.
but a little bit more body and probably a little bit higher alcohol too. Nice and clean looking. I like the look of this beer. No, I don't get any aroma on this one.
No, no. I'm going to write down my score here. All right, ready?
All right,
And here we go. I'm giving it a 3.
4.
4. All right, so neither of us particularly loved that.
No.
It just, there wasn't much to it, right?
No.
Let's go with this one. This is the River Horse Hippo Lantern Imperial Pumpkin.
So Imperial Ale, it's going to be a little bit stronger alcohol. I think this is maybe around 9% or so.
This is like 8.1.
There we go.
Okay.
So this is a local brewery. They're up in Lawrence, or in, what is it, Lawrence Township, New Jersey. They've been around for a long time. They're one of the stalwarts of the Philadelphia area brewing scene.
All right, let's see what we think of them. Oh, I got a nice smoke coming out of there. There you go, a little more of a head to it. How's that aroma?
Oh, wow. There's almost a little bit of like a whiskey kind of taste
yeah, it's
to
strong. All right, here we go. All right, what do you got?
it. I got 8.
All right, I cheated. I did a 7.5.
All right.
Let's go local. This is the Dogfish Head Pumpkin Ale, right? Dogfish Head makes terrific beers, 60-minute, 90-minute IPA, right?
They've been around a long time, and this particular beer has been around for a long time too. It's one of the local original pumpkin beers.
All right, so here we go. The Dogfish Head Pumpkin Ale.
That's really smooth, very smooth.
I'm going to 7.
Same here,
All
7.
right. I liked it, but I liked it more as a beer than as a pumpkin beer, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
I think it's
I didn't
nice.
get a ton of pumpkin. I just thought it was a nice beer.
Yeah, I agree. It has I get the flavor of that in the aftertaste for the most part, but it's such a smooth and easy drinking beer that, this goes to one of my points about pumpkin beer is why don't you see it beyond the fall? I mean, wouldn't you drink a pumpkin beer in March?
I would. Do you have a go-to? Is there one that I possibly didn't bring that is your favorite?
Actually, you
since
brought
I didn't
it.
consult you.
You brought
Is
it,
it this
and it's
one?
this one here,
Oh, here
yeah,
we go.
yeah.
This is the Imperial Pumpkin Southern Tier out of upstate New York. It's a good brewery.
Yeah, Southern Tier is, they're known mainly for their hoppy beers, but this one is routinely ranked the best pumpkin beer in America.
Glad I saved this for last. That was entirely accidental. Here's to you. All right.
Oh man, smell that. That is like fresh baked pumpkin pie right there.
All right. I got a 9.8, baby. Tough to beat.
9.99. I didn't give it 10 because I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect
But
beer.
This is it. This is the winner. The Imperial Pumpkin Southern Tier. This is the one. If you're drinking a pumpkin ale and you're not going to the brewery, right? Because you can get all kinds of good and fresh ones, including here at Conshohocken Brewing
Drinking
Company.
this one all afternoon.
But if you're, yes, there you go. But if you are going out to the liquor store, to the beer store, and you want to pick it up, we recommend Imperial Pumpkin by Southern Tier.